Check one.
Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the bout you've all been waiting for. Finally, it's showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We attitude, we rooting, and we go into that fight to land on the line.
Boxing fans, this is the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Tuesday afternoon, per usual, really. I mean, that's basically what it's coming down to now. Hope everybody's having a good week. So far, so good on my side. Like I said, hopefully it's good on your side. We got a variety of things to discuss on the program tonight, whenever you're going to listen to this. Obviously, fairly mild weekend in the sport we're coming off of. DAZN, Conor Benn had a test that he passed against Javier Fortuna looked pretty good, and now he's looking for a big fight. In Ring City, also got started to Ring City, USA. I should finish that. They had a little issue with the clubs, which was like, whoa, what's going on? But, it is what it is. We'll talk a little bit about that. But, of course, we have some fights coming up this weekend. In the title, I asked if Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., some of my favorite fighters of all time, Sugar Ray Leonard, you're number one. It'll never be different. But those are probably 2 and 3, if I'm being honest. Because, when you're a little kid talking 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and then when you're a teenager in your 20s, you have a love for certain fighters. And it's Sugar Ray Leonard first when I was a little kid, and then obviously Tyson came in and wrecked shit for a while, and then Roy Jones took over with the superior skill and pound for pound stuff. And my point is, I asked if is it real or fugazi. And obviously it's FUGAZI. But we'll talk about that fight straight up. It's an exhibition. They're 2-minute rounds. There's no winner. There's a variety of stuff that I've been telling you guys just to let you know about it. For those that are kind of in between, most people that listen to this podcast, I think, have read the details. I'm never going to tell you what to buy, though. I'm just going to give my opinion on it. I do that with all pay-per-views. I have noticed, though, some of the media have been jumping for joy over this, and I get it, clickbait. It is happening. You are in boxing, so you're going to cover it. Some have been quiet as a mouse, but some of these folks were steady, either quiet as a mouse for a legit pay-per-view with the Charlo brothers, or dumping on it all fight week, man. Anyway, so that's happening. There's an undercard. I'm not going to go over the top and break it down. However, DAZN has a card with Jacobs against Rosado, which seems like is that a real competitive fight? Or has it just been more hype, talking crap to each other? Jacobs has a way of fighting to his opponent. But I think the most important fight of the weekend comes from ESPN Plus and BT Sport in the UK. Daniel Dubois against Joyce. Heavyweight fight, undefeated guys. This is a good fight. It's a good fight. Most people think, Daniel will win. Joyce is a little slow, but he's got a chance. He's definitely got a chance. So we're going to preview the weekend. Like I said, we'll start with some mild recap per se, because like I said, there wasn't a ton, but we will cover it, and then we'll break down the fights this weekend. There is some fight news out there that we'll talk about. Of course, we'll have I got a couple of boxing Twitter segment tweets that we'll cover, which is always fun. Garcia and Campbell has a new date, which is always a good thing, starting off 2021 in a good way with that fight. We'll talk about that. A little bit more of the Crawford and Bob Arum fallout, the debacle. Well, that's not even a debacle, but more quotes. And some of them just make you go, seriously? And this time, it's on the Crawford side. Are you serious, buddy? Now, he said some things that I totally agree with and that I figured he'd be. See, the thing about Crawford is I think, and I can relate to this because I can be very stubborn, or at least I have been in my life. I think I'm better with it now, but I know stubborn, okay? And I don't know Crawford personally, but, I see him as kind of a stubborn dude. And a lot of these dudes are. I mean, I think Spence admitted it in a recent interview that he's stubborn. So I get it. But I really thought Crawford would kind of go, not off the deep end, but I really thought he would just lay into them or hold out or whatever. Maybe he's playing both sides of it, but, man, some of the quotes I'll read are just adding to the layer of, tell him how you feel, Crawford. But then he'll turn around and actually, give Bob the benefit of the doubt. It's really bad, but Bob did the opposite. He doubled down on his quotes about Terrence Crawford. And maybe Crawford is just kind of just saying, hey, dude, I got a year left on my contract. If he ends up, getting me this Pacquiao fight, I'm going to take it. Why wouldn't I, right? I've said for quite some time that, Pacquiao can do whatever the hell he wants, but if he is going to fight someone, as far as now, I understand the Mikey Garcia fight, obviously the McGregor fight, but I would be happy if Crawford or Spence got the fight with him just because of the popularity thing. Now, is it going to be like 5 or 10 years ago? That kind of name recognition? No. Well, it's still the same rate, name recognition, but because Manny's just going to have name recognition for the rest of his life. But as far as an in the prime type of guy, Oscar De La Hoya is taking credit for the PBC stable. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, welcome. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It streams live at archives, but you don't have to download it right there on Rope-A-Dope and Blog Talk or listen to the browser. You can find this platform, Rope-A-Dope Radio, on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, almost across the board. We're also part of the Grueling True Sports Podcast Network, which can be found. Man, I'm a little tired this morning. It is morning because I stayed up really late. But anyway, it can be found everywhere, including Spotify. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. It's boxing, football, basketball, baseball, the whole nine. And if you're wondering, if you do like football and basketball, we do have shows under this platform for that as well. And one more thing, though. If you're thinking about cutting the cord, maybe you're not quite happy, I got something for you. I use it myself. It's called AT&T TV Now. It's live streaming cable. They have the 7-day free trial. There's no annual contract. Once you sign up, the plans start as low as $55 a month. You can stream it anywhere. They have the cloud DVR. And right now, just for signing up, you get a 30-day free trial of HBO Max. Here's another layer. If you sign up for the Max package, that already includes HBO Max, plus a free month of Showtime, which is normally $11. And Showtime is back fully in the boxing business, where it didn't seem like they were putting out much quality besides Showbox last year. AT&T TV Now, that's live streaming cable. Okay, so let's start with probably a we kind of know this person the best as far as hardcore fight fans. Javier Fortuna. So let's start with the FS1 card. Just in the main event, obviously, this was on the stay busy type thing. I mean, that's not Rippin' Lozada, who has a bunch of fights and pulled off the upset over Verdejo a couple years back and whatnot. He's a good fighter. There's nothing wrong with this fight. But we kind of knew for Javier because, he had a fight with Campbell potentially. He had a fight, I believe, even with Haney, it was rumored, right? He had a fight lined up with Jorge Linares, and that fell through. So they wanted to get him in the freaking ring, and now they're actually petitioning, we'll go over that a little bit, to try to get a Haney fight just because there's all sorts of rigmarole that happened to him. And so they stayed busy, and that's exactly what he did. He actually jumped on him almost from the start, hit him with a hard left hand, like a looping side of the head type shot, and it landed pretty hard. And then after that, he landed more left hands as well. It was 10-8 pretty early. More left hands. It's not that Lozado didn't land anything back, because he did in spots, but there was another knock. Oh, wait. Yeah, was it no, actually it was. I thought it was a knockdown live. I think it was ruled like a trip or a slip. But it was a combination, I think, to the body that I thought was a knockdown live when I was watching. But now that I think about it, I think I changed that. Both were kind of landed left hands in the fourth round. That was a close round. I guess that could have went either way, maybe. There was a late left hand after the bell that Lozada landed. Fortuna started attacking the body even more with that left hand. And sixth round, he came out on a mission to get the stoppage. He, went back to the body attack, more left hooks, either head or body, overhand rights, and basically this left hand snapped the head back of Lozado, and they called it from there. It was over. It was a done deal. So a good performance by Fortuna. I like watching Fortuna fight. He's pretty action-packed. He's been in some fights where, he got tagged. He tags them. It's a fun. He's a good fighter. He's an experienced fighter too. What is he? 36-2 now, in one draw, I believe, with 25 KOs. So, we'll see where it goes. If it leads him to a big fight, rankings-wise, it should. If we're being honest, and I do like to be honest. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding, but you know what I'm saying. But here it is, actually. This is from Boxing Scene. Yesterday, Team Fortuna sent requests to the WBC to order the Devin Haney fight. Sampson, who's his promoter, is submitting a formal request to the WBC for them to order negotiations to begin immediately for Fortuna to face Devin Haney. After fighting his way to the number one spot in the WBC ratings last November, Fortuna was supposed to fight Luke Campbell in April, when Haney was sidelined with that injury. But COVID helped him. What it says right here, gave adequate time to recover. So the WBC then reinstated Haney, blah, 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 blah. But, and it actually says number one, it goes through that number two. With Fortuna now looking for a new opponent, representatives from Golden Boy Promotions offered him a fight with Ryan Garcia, which Fortuna agreed without hesitation. Only be notified didn't want to face him. I don't know about the didn't want to face him. Maybe there was a better opportunity, whatever the case is. But he's basically like, hey, now he's the WBC number 2 contender, blah, blah, blah. So basically he's trying to get Fortuna a big fight where he was kind of, measured into before. Measured into, I don't think that's the way you say that, but he was right there. He was right there, so why not get Fortuna a big fight. And I think where Devin Haney is, I know we want to see him against Ryan Garcia. I know, some people want to see him against Gary Russell Jr., whatever the case is. You can't act like Fortuna would be a bad fight for Devin Haney. I think that at lightweight and just fights in general, we know some fights when it's young against young, Garcia, Haney, they're probably not going to make that tomorrow, right? They're probably going to wait a year, 2 years, hopefully not much more than that. But, they're probably going to wait. And just because they are at least on the same platform for now, so that helps, But if certain fights don't happen, let's see who you're fighting, though. I think we have to, as boxing fans and especially media, we have to concentrate on who they're fighting. We kept hearing, Haney would be talking about, and plenty of fans would be talking about how these guys are ducking him, but Garcia's fighting Campbell, quality fight. Teofimo, how could he be ducking Haney when he fought Lomachenko, and vice versa? So let's just keep it all in range of reality, and also, it's good to be critical when the time is there. But Fortuna would be a good fight. Anyway, the opener was Austin Dulé against Jose Luis Gallos, I think his name is. This was just a get-right fight for Dulé, who, trying to build back as a prospect to an extent. He won pretty much every round. It had an entertaining style to it. Dulé outlanded him 170 to 99. They threw about the same amount of punches. But the first 5-6 rounds, it was all Dulé. He looked pretty good. He was jabbing to the head and body, which I liked, kind of sticking and moving, looking pretty sharp, I'd say. Quick little combinations, a few shots where he'd sit down, punches, and then kind of move. The fourth was close. There was maybe another close round in there somewhere. But it was pretty, Dulé did move a bunch down the stretch. He did throw jabs and left hooks as well, but he did. So maybe you could give him 2 rounds tops. But Dulé won it pretty easily. And then Fernando Molina, kind of looking for a flashy punch, one at a time. Then he kind of was doing pot shots and a couple of combos type thing. But to me, the Fernando Molina, the 2-0 prospect, this was just a good development. Got some rounds. Not much to look into this. I think it was 107 to 52 on the punch stat, so he clearly handled him. There isn't much to look at when it comes to that. But overall, a good night for the A side, I guess you could say. So it wasn't necessarily some kind of over the top good fight. Good fights, I should say, to watch. Somewhat entertaining, I guess, but not much there. On the DAZN main event, Conor Benn in Formella. We saw Formella in August, late August against Porter. Didn't really win a round, and he didn't really win too many rounds in this one either. I had it 9-1 or 8-2. Scorecards had it really wide. But Ben looked pretty good. I thought he came out with a steady jab, and he was kind of mixing it up where he'd throw it, whether the speed of it or to the head or body. He did bloody up the nose off that jab and land some good right hands behind it. And, I thought he threw some solid shots in there, early on especially. Formella had some moments, just not nearly enough with his jab and right hand. I did think like I said, there was some competitive fight, rounds in there. Down the stretch, I think, was it the 8th and 9th? that Formella was kind of getting in and out, and he was a little bit busier, a little bit better shots. Basically, the 8th round, there was like early right hands. But I don't know. Formella landed some good shots on the inside to me in that 8th round. Some flush shots, but it was pretty one-sided. But with that said, Conor Benn looked good. He looked pretty good to me. I've only seen him fight a couple of times, so he's still obviously, 17-0 now in the development stage. They were talking about, this guy who likes to brawl. That guy, we don't even know that guy anymore. This is a new, improved Conor Benn. I don't know if he's going to stick to that or if he felt like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But he looked good, though. I thought he looked pretty good. What else we got here? We have the Ring City. I almost call it Ring TV. Ring City, USA, which is a pretty cool name for a series. NBC Sports Network. There was 2 prospect fights on there. One of them was a 22-year-old Rocky Hernandez, who he's at if you look at his resume, he's 30-1 with 27 KOs going into this fight. He's taking on Eduardo Garza. Took care of business. Didn't get a lot out of that fight. Got a little bit more out of William Zepeda. What is it? Zepeda. He's young too. He's 24, 22-0, 20 KOs. He's got some good vets to an extent on his resume, so I think he's closer to getting tested. I wouldn't doubt if maybe in the next chunk of months they'll put him back on this. But he beat Roberto Ramirez, was it 5th or 6th? I think it was 5th round knockout. He looked pretty good. I thought he did a pretty good, job at establishing his jab. Like I said, just opponent-wise, there just wasn't much in his opponent per se. But I'm looking forward to, both of them I'll check out, of course. But, it's kind of a wait and see on that. We did get something out of the main event, relatively speaking. Well, before the fight, Mickey Roman had a little glove gate controversy. Not supposedly, it was missing the amount of pads you normally have. Both sets, by the way. And Foster's corner saw it, identified it, and they threw out those 2 gloves and allowed more gloves to come in, obviously. I don't know where they got those gloves. Actually, now that I think about it, did they get it? Do I remember seeing on Twitter that maybe it came from Foster's side? Because that's happened before. I can't remember, but it was a good find and pretty shaky. I would probably, at least have a hearing. Could you suspend someone's license and then give it back to them if the hearing goes good? Yeah, I think you could. Maybe suspending it right away is maybe you have the hearing and then decide whatever it is. But I do think, gloves do get turned down. That's not the rarest thing ever. You know what I mean? They do get turned down. But, I'd have to kind of see when they're talking about missing pads, how much are we talking about? You know what I mean? Was it's one thing for it to be already squished in or, someone put a finger or moved it around too much or whatever, and they get denied. Like I said, they do get denied. But this one was shaky. And I do fast forward some of this stuff sometimes between rounds if I'm in a hurry to watch the fight or obviously the commercials on my DVR. But I didn't hear them talk about it till later in the fight. And I remember Porter's like, DiBella's not going to let it go. And it's I don't really think that's not letting it go. I think that's a fair thing if someone doesn't have the correct padding in both, not one, but both of their, gloves. I think that should have a hearing. But it is what it is. They got the right gloves, whatever. Kushaki, Foster. He's a prospect. He took some L's early. What is he, 16-2 or something like that? He looked pretty good though. I mean, Mickey at this point is way past his prime. But these were good rounds for him, I thought. I thought Roman actually did some decent work down the stretch before he got TKO'd. But it was like a jab right hand, I think, at the midway point that knocked Roman down. And Mickey was already, looking at his eye. He was looking at his eye. Yeah, he was looking at his eye with no mirror. But no, he was, messing with his eye right away. I think it was his left eye. It seemed like it was bothering him. And so I thought, oh, wow. I wonder if there's something up in his eye, or is this thing going to end shorter than I thought? And Foster also went to the body with the right hand. I noticed that. He started, going same jab right hand, but adding the left hook, not just to the body, but to the head as well. He was landing some really good short shots in close to the head and body, left hooks, jabs, pivot. He was doing some good stuff in there. He was just busier. You could see, though, in the fourth that I thought Roman was starting to pick it up a little bit. I don't know if you give him the fourth, but, you could see it coming. And in the fifth, I think you may give him that, especially in the last part. He could have stole that round. But more left hooks to the body, left uppercuts as well. I forgot to mention the uppercuts. He was circling well, was Foster, landed the better shots. Roman, though, in the seventh, he was really on that pressure. He's like, screw it. I'm not winning the fight. Maybe his eye was still messing with him, but he said, screw it. I'm bringing pressure, and I'm going to work that body. Pause. And, but that was about it. And you know what? Normally, I randomly recorded. I didn't realize I did this at the time, but I randomly recorded the replay. And they had a 2-hour slot, and then they went right to the replay. But usually, like on FS1 or once in a while on ESPN2 when they show replays, which I hope they continue to do like they've done lately. But FS1 and FS2 consistently has fights on throughout the week. And they usually edit it. So on the replay, they usually edit it so it fits in the 2-hour slot. So the last, I think it was the 8th and some of the 9th. I mean, I ended up seeing the knockout, but they didn't edit the replay. So it just went long. So I missed the last round and a half or something. It was a TKO 9th round by Foster. And so, Coppinger, I got to say, Coppinger threw Showbox under the bus to sit there and pump up this Ring City USA, and he is the official news guy for them or whatever. I think he put a post out. I say news guy. I think that's who's going to break the news for them because they made it sound like that with this tweet, Coppinger did. But there's no reason, and I'm not blaming the Ring City guys, USA. I'm not blaming those guys because I don't think they said, hey, in your article, make sure you dump on Showbox, They say they have a bigger budget than Showbox. I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure. They say it, though. Judging by how people got paid in this one, I wouldn't necessarily say it's that much bigger, but this is just their first one. Speaking of Showbox, their next 2 cards that are scheduled look like that. 2 undefeated younger, 14-0, 16-0, that type of thing. So any new entity I'm willing to give a chance to. And, this isn't a promotional tied thing. So that's either going to really help them at times and possibly hurt them. But they are really going out on their way of saying, hey, anyone can fight here, and we're here to put you in a fight that's going to mean something, and you can move on. So I like how they're saying that up front. Some of the people behind them, especially one of them that I don't know personally, like we talk on the phone, but I have had some, I've had some back and forth with the person on a positive level, and I like the person's podcast, Boxing Esquire, and I think he does a good job. I think he's pretty fair. So I wish him nothing but the best. And, we see like smaller regional promoters, which are very valuable to the sport, but we see them complain a lot about stuff. But yet these guys and gals just went out and just got their show. They got their show. They got their series. So I respect that. But clearly Coppinger, to sit there and already dump on Showbox like it's just horrible. Showbox is still probably the most consistent show for boxing. FS1's been pretty solid. It's just not always prospect against prospect. The fight is prospect against everything. And this was obviously prospect against that with Roman, but they're really stressing the middle class not being there. And so to me, I understand because they said it's kind of a combination of, are we talking about club level shows that you can build prospects in a state or region, right? Is that what we're talking about? Because if that's what we're talking about, then sure, I understand that. Now, how many club shows are you going to be able to broadcast across the nation? That I don't know. There's all sorts of streams in New York for a while. DeBella had his thing popping. So the thing about the club show is sometimes the main event or some of the fights will just be squash, right? But in the same breath, the actual club fights, where you look at the records, you go, what the hell? They're actually really fun to watch. So let's say you got 10 fights. 2 of those could be just fun as fights that even casuals would be like, wow, that was fun. Now, it's at a level. You know what I mean? I guess my point is, when you say the middle class, to me, middle class means mid-level fight. And if we're going to do like the economy, right, the top 0.1% or 0.01 or whatever, 0.1, or just 1%. Then you have the upper middle. Then you have the middle, which obviously in the last 50 years has shrunk. Then you have what they call the working class. Then you have poverty. Well, to me, the club shows are working class and poverty. They're not really middle income, is my point. So, nor is their pay. So, the mid-level fight, we have gotten more mid-level fights in the last 3 to 5 years than we had previous 3 to 5 years. The mid-level fight is getting pretty much full representation now, or more than it had. But I like the concept. I do like the concept. It sounds like they're going to have them once a month. Was it 12 or 11 next year? I can't remember, but I like the concept. I wonder how much they're going to bring people back, or if it is literally, hey, you do this, you can get to there, whatever the case is. Obviously, Showbox now, they can be stuck on the PBC side of things. Or, Top Rank has so many dates, they're not going to put anybody on Showbox. Not like they made a habit of it, but there are some other promoters that aren't able to get on Showbox, that type of thing. So, I like it. But, it's funny how the media, and I'm not just talking about Coppinger, but the media, if you look at like Jake Donovan wrote an article that was completely fair. He was straight up. He did his job. That's why we, on the show here, we talk a lot about Jake. I'm going to try to get him back next week, actually, for our monthly segment. But then you have guys like Coppinger who had to take down somebody else to say something, right? But then look at this. This is ESPN.com. This is Ben Baby. Is that his real name? This is what he wrote. He's an ESPN staff writer. This is what he wrote about the last the most important thing that happens in boxing in 2020 might be what occurs inside the Wild Card Boxing Club in Hollywood, California on Thursday night. Talking about the Ring City new venture for NBC Sports Network. And they're, we talked about this last time, actually, Jake, speaking of Jake. The last time Jake came out here, we talked about how there is too much boxing. We know there's too much boxing. Hardcores, we love it. It's always on, great. But in the end, there is too much. So now we're going to add 12 more shows a year, whatever. It is what it is. But I do like where they're going with the idea. And like I said, if you look at the next two, shows on paper that kind of look like the Showbox thing, what they're going for. And I wish them well. But the most important thing that happens in boxing in 2020 might be this. I mean, come on, dude. Give me a effing break, dude. Are you serious? I mean, come on, dude. Are we really going to do all that? Like, come on. Anyway, not much in their first show, but it's their first show, right? And we've seen not much plenty of times before. Here, that article goes on to say the concept is pretty simple: competitive matchmaking on a budget that isn't driven by promoter agenda, offering unheralded fighters a platform. But the implications of what the upstart outfit is trying to do so far is more complex. So, yeah. Anyway, I just think that's so that would be the most important thing that happened. It's not even a might. Like, come on, dude. There's a lot of different issues in boxing. It is what it is. Anyway, we will be talking a little bit about the upcoming fights this weekend. Daniel Dubois and Joyce are fighting on ESPN Plus here in the States. And, of course, BT Sport. I think it's straight up, right? It's not pay-per-view? Is that correct? Well, that's a good deal for UK fight fans. And that's basically like having a Showtime or ESPN. Like, you do have to pay for it, but you're already paying for it. It's not a pay-per-view, right? So that's cool. I like that fight. I do favor Dubois, but we'll get into it in just a short little bit. Daniel Jacobs and Gabe Rosado have been going at it for quite some time. We'll see if that actually plays out in the ring. Gabe, his skin is not the toughest. He's a tough dude. I'm not messing with him, but his skin it's hard for him to hold up, is my point, without cutting and bleeding and all that. But Daniel Jacobs, as I mentioned earlier, he fights the levels normally. He really does. And so could this be I think stylistically, I do think, and it's not because they're beefing, I think stylistically this could be a fun fight to watch. I really do. But we'll talk a little bit about it. And then, of course, I'll give you my take on the Tyson-Roy Jones. You know what? Why don't we just get that shit out of the way? So I have the title of the show, part of the title of the show, is Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., a real fight or Fugazi? Is it fake, for those who don't know what that means? Well, it's an exhibition. And it's an exhibition on pay-per-view. Now, like I mentioned earlier, every time a pay-per-view comes around, I'm not here to tell you what you should buy and what you shouldn't buy. I just have the same formula pay-per-views that I've had for quite some time when judging them. And does it deliver bang for the buck? Is it a competitive main event? Is there something that we can sink our teeth into on the undercard? Yada, yada, yada. Oops. But I did notice, we know it was only a couple of days, I think, after the Showtime announcement back in the summer of their schedule when this fight got announced too. And, Kevin Iole, several people, but Iole especially. He didn't even tweet for like 5 or 6 days. Someone like was tweeting about that, like Kevin still hasn't even, Iole hasn't even still tweeted about the schedule at all, basically. And I went back to his Twitter account, and it had been like 6 days or something. But yet he had like 8 tweets for the Jones, And I remember he said something like, well, looks like they're, because he just assumed that Loma and Lopez was gonna be pay-per-view because that's what it originally was. But obviously it got knocked off and it didn't happen. That was awesome. But thanks ESPN. But his only statement was, well, looks like there's going to be 2 pay-per-views in October. You better fucking make them good, But yet he's doing it, and I'm not saying you can promote both. I'm talking about it on the show, aren't I? I mean, I am. Doesn't mean I'm telling you, hey, I'm pumping it up, but still talking about it, right? But to sit here and you can go on the radio. People are going to invite you on the radio before they're going to invite you for the Charlo Brothers. I get that. It has nothing to do with that. But if you're going to sit there and apply pressure to pay-per-views for the last couple of years, especially the PBC ones, and that's just true. People were dogging Thurman in freaking Pacquiao, for Christ's sakes. Their undercards have been good. Better than what we had before they started doing pay-per-views. Now, I'm not saying Don King. I'm saying, the last 10 years or whatever. But I'm just going to tell you about the fight. It's an exhibition. I already told you originally some of the quotes that came from the commission. Let's not fool anybody. Let's tell, we're not going to scam someone, I know some boxing writers that were saying, like buyer beware on Thurman and Pacquiao. Buyer beware, because they didn't want someone to come back on their Twitter feed and be like, oh, that was a bull. Thurman just ran, because that was what the person was saying. Oh, Thurman's just going to run or whatever. But then I don't see a buyer beware this week. Like I said, I've seen people either supporting it. That's cool. You can support it, whatever. It's not cool, but it is what it is. Your media. I get it. Clicks are clicks. Like I said, I'm talking about it. But or others are quiet. But like I said, they were dumping on the Charlo pay-per-view, and value-wise, that was a damn good pay-per-view. But they're not going to announce that in the area where they're having it. I was going to say it's not like a big audience or something, but they're not going to announce over the loudspeaker, which that's kind of a funny way to say it, but whatever, the winner. They don't have official commission judges that have cards that are scoring it. The WBC has appointed 3 celebrity judges, and they are not allowed to do the 10-9 scoring system. It just basically they announce who they think won. No official judges. Foster clarified this. They're going to have those guests remotely. Nothing official. It's basically there's no cumulative score. It's just straight up, I think he won. That's a very entertainment-centered thing. It's about entertainment, not about competition. They have some kind of, fake WBC belt that they're trying to pass off as something. But remember, it's an exhibition. It's 8 rounds, 2-minute rounds. They're saying that there's no knockouts allowed. And that's something that the commission said earlier, that if someone's getting feisty, they literally are going to break it up and say stop. And both of them know that. And Tyson said he's going to, give his to charity. Is that a straight up charity that he's going to keep doing these fights for and build? Or is that a tax purpose? I don't know. Roy Jones, I don't know what he's doing with this. If a cut occurs, fight's over. So if you hurt somebody or there's a cut, it's over. Well, I'm sorry. if there's a cut, the fight's over. But if you hurt someone, they're going to break it up and be like, no. There's no knockouts allowed, basically. So there's no bets allowed on the fight. Well, I don't know about that. But because it's an exhibition, it's basically hard sparring is what it is. So both guys will get a belt after. So, it's Fugazi. It is what it is. Now, I understand that it's going to get some pay-per-views. It's $50. Okay, it's wow. Someone's getting a little defensive here. In my chat, someone said it's $49.99, and they didn't put like a LOL or a smiley face or anything. So, at least say the facts. It's $50, dude. I mean, if we want to go facts, is there some tax involved? I don't know because I really don't know. But is there? Because if there is, then well, whatever. So it is what it is. Am I renting it? No, I'm not going to rent it. I didn't rent Roy Jones against B-Hop 2 because I knew what it was going to be. I would rather watch the clips of 60-40 and it's a done deal. 60-40, it's a done deal. When they're going back and forth after, it'd be like right after a B-Hop fight, and they'd be talking back and forth, him and Roy. 60-40, it's a done deal. Remember that shit on HBO? But anyway, I can't sit there and say that I won't watch highlights or whatever. People talking about Team Stream. I get that. But I'm not going to spend. It's not even money. Do I have $49.99? I don't know if there's tax. Yeah, but am I really going to spend it on an exhibition? It's just funny, like I said, to see some of these media members, especially like the better named ones that have a bigger platform or whatever, just sit there and with this type of, I almost want to call it behavior, because then they'll turn around and shit on quality pay-per-views, but then they're either quiet as a little church mouse or they're up there trying to get hits with it. And I get it. Like I said, I get the hits thing, but yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. Sorry. Not sorry, because it's not a real fight, guys. Doesn't it bother those same media members that dumped on the Charlo pay-per-view? Doesn't it bother them that this is not a real fight? But yet they're asking for $50, not $5 or $10 on an app, $50 or $49.99, like old boy said in the chat. So, I'm good. I'm good on that. Thank you though. I do appreciate the offer, but I'm good. I don't want that. That's not to say that I won't have a recap segment next week. I'm being honest. Maybe it turns out to be a fun fight. The nostalgia, all that. I get all that. I get all that. Yeah. Vinny Paz, Christy Martin, and Chad Dawson are actually, I think, the celebrity guests there. Oh, and they have VADA. I don't know when it started, but they do have VADA through the Clean Boxing program. But marijuana will not be involved. That's probably the funniest thing I like. So, yeah. Badu Jack fights on there. Vidal Riley fights on there. And then Jake Paul and Nate Robinson. I got to admit, if you're going to just look at it from a fight like this, I have more interest in that than I have this. And I don't have any interest in that, but I'm just saying. Okay. Oh boy. So yeah. Where are we? Oh yeah. So let's get into some news, shall we? There is some fight news that I will be talking about here soon. No doubt about it. Some current fight news and a couple of boxing Twitter segments as well. Or not a couple of segments, but some good tweets to scratch your head at or make you laugh or or go, yeah, hey, that's legit. That's legit. Actually, someone just sent me part of the boxing Twitter segment. Crawford fought an old and crusty, not wanting to be there Brook, who quit. He has no good names on his resume. When Postall and Horn's your best fight, you're bullshit. You can't be pound for pound. Well, I mean, you talking about pound for pound like number one or just pound for pound? I'll say this. Like I said last week, you can say whatever you want about Kell Brook. He won the first 2 rounds cleanly. Third round was closer. I think Crawford won it, but it was close. And then, yeah, we understand he didn't fight back when he normally had in the past. Whatever. But Crawford took care of business. You brought up Postall. Well, go look at the fight. Go watch Terrence Crawford and Victor Postall. Then go watch Victor Postall against Jose Ramirez. Then go watch Victor Postall against Josh Taylor. You tell me who had the best performance in that. Not which fight you liked better to watch or which fight was more two-way. Who performed better? Crawford did. He won like he lost the first round, then won the rest, right? Basically, maybe he lost. Maybe he was 10-2. So I get it. I get what you're saying. I don't have him as the number one pound for pound guy. I think that's like an eye test there, which that's cool if people think it's the eye test. And I can understand the people that think, well, Canelo cheated. Okay, that's cool too. I get it. Canelo's eye test and resume, but he did cheat. Now, his layer of cheating compared to some others, that's an argument, but that tweet's, that's just garbage. Sorry. Not sorry. Okay, so where was I? Oh, yeah. So we're going to catch up a little bit with this Crawford-Bob Arum stuff. They had some quotes that, last week, Bob really said, yeah, I'm laying it on the line here. He really let it out. And, this week he doubled down. He's like, I don't understand, what did I say wrong, basically? This is from Dan Raphael yesterday on BoxingScene.com. Arum stands by Crawford's comments, disinterested in promoting his fights. I don't give a shit. I don't care because what the Crawford camp did was reprehensible. The lawyer sent a letter to us. Okay, that's fine. That's what lawyers do. But you don't release it to the press. Well, there's the shit part. All this should have been behind closed doors, like what men do. Oh yeah, because he's always behind closed doors, right? I'm not gonna take this shit. I'm just not going to do it because the truth is I've lost money with this guy, and that may be the truth. But remember, Mr. Bob Arum, you signed him too. He signed the contract. There's some blame there, knowing that Crawford's probably not going to get the biggest fights. But then there's also blame there. So he doubled down. And this is what he said. It'll be another hit on my net worth. I'm being serious. I turned the whole project of Crawford over to his stepson, Todd Dubois. I washed my hands of it. I'm too emotional about it. Then there was this last kerfuffle with the Brook fight when he didn't sign the contract, so we couldn't promote Lomachenko Lopez on the telecast. I have long since departed working with Crawford. He's talking about how, it took a while for him to sign it. Arum said that was after Top Rank. Crawford agreed to terms on Brook fight. Crawford had the contract for 2 weeks, but declined to sign the paperwork. Arum wanted to so they could launch the promotion in a major way to basically start that night because they had a big audience with Lomachenko and Lopez. We keep telling them to sign the fucking contract because what they were up to was to start promoting it. What because what they wrote, not have signed contract and start renegotiating. Okay, that sounds a little weird, but I understand what he's saying. I want a signed contract. They had it for 2 weeks. If it was up to me, I couldn't handle it. I'm too old to handle it. I've taken it off my agenda, whatever Todd wants to do. So he's saying, screw it. So he doubled down. That's what he said. And he thinks right now, without the bars and the restaurants and the closed circuit and stuff like that, that those fights, with that fight couldn't be made anyway. And without the gate, like a Spence Crawford or whatever. And now he's going on this. In order to do pay-per-views, you need ESPN Plus because it did a good chunk of buys on the Fury and Wilder fight. But it's just his way of. But here, we heard a variety of stuff from Terrence. Basically saying, hey, if you don't want to, if you don't think I can do it, then leave me alone. You know what I mean? Basically, that's basically if you don't think if I'm losing money on you, then here's a good. Actually, I'll read that later. But he's like, yeah, it pissed me off. This was on Sirius XM Boxing. Terrence Crawford. He said it pissed me off because I'm one of the most loyal people. For him to say some foolish shit like that, it makes me look at him totally different way. Release me now, and you don't have to lose, money on me no more. So he was really like pretty stern on that. Like, all right, dude. Well, if I'm not making money for you, then just release me. Then I could be a free agent. And that's kind of what I thought. He would say. And be, like I talked about earlier, stubborn, like be stubborn about it, which actually I don't think that part is being stubborn. I just think that once you cross him, I thought he was stubborn enough to not be like, I'm done. We're done then. But maybe, there are some other quotes that kind of make me scratch my head. And you start to look at, there's loyalty. There's loyalty. And then there's just like, dude, you're just going to let them disrespect you? So it's kind of a combo. And also, well, here, I'll just read the quotes. This is from Friday on BoxingScene.com. We'll get the top-ranked feud figured out. I can't bash Bob because I know he tried everything. I can't bash Bob. He also said that on that same Sirius XM. I can't bash Bob Arum and Top Rank. I cannot do that. They gave me the opportunity to accomplish everything in my career. I know deep down in my heart that Bob is a really good dude, and he really did try everything possible in his will to get the fights I was asking for. I don't know what made him come out and say all the negative stuff he said about me. I have a lot of things going through my head right now. I don't really like to talk about it because I'm not the kind of person to put business in the street. If I ever had a problem with Bob Arum or Top Rank, I always went to them. Crawford said Arum doesn't promote me like he promotes everybody else. Ain't nobody in the stable doing numbers like me. I'm doing nobody, not even your prima donnas. You're getting so much more, basically, promotion. Motherfucker ain't doing nothing compared to me. I always felt like I was set up from the jump so they didn't have to pay me the money that I deserved. I always felt like I was set up from the jump so they didn't have to pay the money that I deserved. He's talking about money. I used to take pay cuts because I didn't care about the money. I knew where I was going. Now he's going to pay me more for a minimum every single time that I fight because I deserve it. You're going to pay me what I'm worth. Top Rank is a company I am with right now, but who knows what the future may hold. Trial, tribulation, blah, blah, blah. So to me, in there, he's saying how he's getting screwed, but he knows deep down he tried everything. So you think you're getting, out promoted on your own, platform, like they're giving more attention to Lomachenko and Teofimo or whatever, right? That's what he says. And I'll say this, 3 separate times they put Crawford in a good spot with a really nice lead-in. 3 separate times. So, and that's in about 2 years, 3 years or something like that. Yeah, because since 2017, right? That's when this deal started. So, I mean, could they have done better? Yes. Did they put him in some really good spots? Yeah. So my thing is when he says, Bob did everything he could do, he didn't offer Porter a fight. He didn't even try to negotiate with Thurman. Not like I think that fight was 100% realistic at the time, but he didn't even negotiate it. And when he offered Danny, it's coming off a loss to Porter. So he offered Danny, but they just sent it to Angel. They didn't even send it to Al Heyman. So that's a press run, like I said. So he didn't do everything to get the fights he could. Now, maybe this Pacquiao fight, maybe that part of it's real and all that, but that they actually did have the fight in place and all that. And maybe that's why he's saying, we'll get this figured out, kind of playing both sides of it. Like, well, we'll get it figured out because, hey, if he does end up getting that fight with Pacquiao, then I'm still signing with him. And he probably doesn't want to sit around for a year either. He probably wants to pick up some more money. But it is what it is. So that kind of makes me scratch my head unless it's strategic, which I'm not sure if it is or not. But, yeah, to me it's a little funky. It's kind of like, well, which one is it, dude? Which one is it? It's kind of all over the place on that for me because it's like you just got done saying if I don't do this, I don't do that. Well, I don't know. He didn't really go out and try to get these fights. He talks about other fighters. He's even saying himself the Spence fight can't happen right because of the lack of gate in bars and restaurants. So, but he did get mad. Arum did say, you shouldn't have leaked it or whatever. Well, this is what his manager and trainer, Crawford, was saying. He said that his side didn't leak it. The statement claiming that members of Terrence Crawford, specifically Todd Kinney and I, released documents and contract details to the media are false. Bob and his team need to look in-house for those leaks. And I think part of the leak was, and I don't think I talked about this, maybe I did last week, I'm not sure. But part of it was if certain fights didn't get made, he would get a bonus. And this is what Bomac was talking about. Arum informed Boxing Scene that he believes Bomac leaked details of Crawford's contract to The Athletic for a story posted to the website. This was November 13th, the day before Crawford broke out. The 88-year-old promoter was especially bothered by the revelation that he had promised to pay Crawford $1 million more on top of his, minimum if Top Rank didn't make an offer in 2020 to Spence for a welterweight title unification fight. So that's the part he didn't like. I guess that was a big part of it. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly who leaked what or whatever. You know what I mean? I have no clue. But that was smart by Crawford. Either way, you were either going to get the fight or get some more money. So I give him credit for that. That was strategic. It is what it is. And Spence was asked the question during his press conference. Or no, I'm sorry. Well, he was that too. But I think this is on the Coppinger and Pug podcast. They brought it to him. They basically put the 60-40 thing, out there on the table. Like, hey, do you think you should get more like 60-40 or whatever? I don't know if they said 60-40, but, the lion's share, the more money than 50-50. And he did, Spence did say, yeah, I do believe that, I should get 60-40 or something. He did leave the open door for negotiations. He was basically saying once Bob and Al Heyman actually sit down and work it all out, they'll come up with something that he probably will be okay with. But he did say he should get more money. The 60-40 thing, like I said, I don't know if he said it and then said 60-40 or something, which could be 55-45, whatever. Some people are already saying, well, why don't you, give, 40-40 or the 20% to the winner and stuff like that. But you never leave it in the hands of the judges for money, Now, maybe for the rematch, someone can get it, a higher thing or whatever. But clearly, I know people don't like to talk about this, or it's like a dirty word sometimes to say, oh, I don't care and you don't care. We don't care, like, who's the A side. And I think that's a fair statement. But the business does. And if Bob Arum was in the power play, he would do that. I mean, Christ, he was saying Pacquiao's the A side by a mile back when he was going to fight Floyd originally, like, 2010, 2011. So, which he wasn't the A side clearly at that time. So, I don't know. I've documented it numerous times. On both sides. Spence, because remember Spence a couple of years back was all lidded up. He was all litty at that press conference. He was talking about Prograrius and all that when he's talking about Regis Prograis. And he said, if you want the fight, you can come to Showtime on the A side, all that. And he is the A side, by the way. It's pretty obvious. But Crawford has always said, I don't need them. They need me. I'm already in the Hall of Fame. I don't need the fight at all. Period. He doesn't care about it anymore. And I can understand, the mentality of it's either going to happen or not, Of course, you could let your contract run out and go make it happen, but sometimes he's been lit going, I remember there's this one interview that I played that it was right before a fight. Not his fight, but just as a spectator. And he was pretty drunk, and he was saying he's the A side. But his A side is based off accomplishments at weight classes. And so he says, I have more belts, I have more accomplishments. What has he done? All that good stuff. But this is from a chunk of days ago, like Saturday or something. Friday, actually, I'm looking at it. Crawford on Spence fight. If it ain't 60-40 in my favor, the fight won't happen. That's what he said. So Arrow has said he's the A side, which is true, but he also, in that interview, said 60-40 or something like that. He didn't say it had to be 60-40, but I think that ever since they were beefing on Twitter and then they talked on the phone, and you could see Spence, I've said this before, that Spence said we've already talked about, in a general way, what it takes to make that fight, and I believe it was not 50-50. And Crawford really hadn't said a whole lot of it. But he says, I definitely should be getting the bigger share. The proof is in the pudding. Who's the bigger draw? That's what, Spence said. He's a great fighter, but I feel like 60-40, that's the right price. Well, I don't know about price. Or he said 60-40 or something like that. That fight not going to happen because he already talking 60-40 deal. If it ain't a 60-40 in my favor, then the fight's not going to happen. I've accomplished way more than he did with his little career. I don't really care if the fight don't happen anymore. Crawford said I used to be all caught up into it, and I can understand all that. You get sick of it or whatever. But I'm not the one that is the reason why it didn't happen. Neither of them were. I'm not the one who said, oh, well, you need Spence. Why do I need Spence? A lot of people say I need Spence. I don't need Spence. The fans want Spence. What has Spence accomplished in his career that I haven't or more? What has he accomplished? That's what I'm considered. That's why I'm considered number one pound for pound in the world. I can't complain, of course. I want the big fights, but like I said, I'm cool. I can't complain. Of course, I want the big fights, but like I said, I'm cool. I'm making good money. I'm fighting good names, the names that are good enough to fight. I know everybody wants me to fight Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Sean Porter. For those fights, ain't happening yet, so I got to fight the next best opponent. And like I said, he's been saying he's the A side, and maybe he wants it. Maybe he's trying to be strategic about it and say, well, I'm holding my guns, you hold your guns, and let's meet somewhere in the middle. Maybe that's it, 50-50. But that's what I'm talking about. Both Spence and Crawford can be, stubborn. And I know Spence in a recent interview admitted it. But, if he's really going to stick to that, the 60-40 Crawford, he doesn't really have a foot to stand on, unfortunately. Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya is taking credit for the PBC stable in general. De La Hoya, and it's funny that some of the guys he mentioned, Wilder and Spence, he didn't build those guys up. He had a lot of fights as a prospect with Wilder, but he was gone before he had a title fight. De La Hoya on Wilder, Spence, and other PBC fighters, I built them. So this is what he's saying. He also believes he deserves credit for having built the careers of, the premier boxing guys. Oops. Sorry. So he says he built Wilder, Errol Spence, the Charlo twins, Leo Santa Cruz, just to name a few. The claim, however, might be hard to swallow depending on the operative word. I built them. This is what he said on a recent episode of the Third Knockdown Rule. This is on Boxing Scene as well. Let's see. He says, on the other side of the street, you have a bunch of fighters that just don't want to fight. And it's not because of them, it's because of who is controlling the ship there. The PBC group has their own agenda. I don't know what the agenda is because they keep losing money, literally. A perfect example is Leo Santa Cruz and Gervonta, and before that they lost money somewhere else and somewhere else. I don't know how long they can keep it up. It's hurting the sport. We can make so many good fights together, and we've done that together with Fox and ESPN working together. We should do that more often. He said we've done that together. I think he was talking about Bob on that one. Bob loves making fights. Yeah, he's in control of them. He basically says we've worked with every single promoter, and the only issue that we had is PBC for some reason. I don't dislike them, but what he's saying is Leo Santa Cruz, Danny Garcia, what's going on is happening. PBC they're relying on champions they have now, but what happens when the champions get old and they retire, they don't have the next wave because they don't know how to build. So that's maybe a ship that sails away. They tried to be great, but they just couldn't. Well, first of all, when Spence and Wilder and all these guys he's talking about, Thurman, was on Golden Boy, Richard Schaefer was the head promoter. He was the guy. And it was hard to get Oscar to come into the office on a daily basis, sometimes at all, throughout a given week. Sometimes he wouldn't show up to events, including fight night. And I'm not just talking about Mayweather-Canelo because he was in rehab, but, Mayweather-Canelo, that's like your biggest fight for your fighter, and you didn't even show up. So he even admits he wasn't the most present, promoter back then. But you know what? That's okay because he put people in charge, and it was his money that started it out. So that, it's okay just to be a figurehead and show up to events and do the press conferences and go on the radio and talk about your fighters and all that. If you just did that, that'd be fine. But he's sitting there saying, we built them. Now he's now ever since he's been with DAZN, he's anti-pay-per-view. But before it, he was like, we're the only ones that know how to build a pay-per-view star. But, Wilder fought on Showbox. I think he fought on like a Showtime special edition. But to say they built him as a prospect fight, basically he needed a slow build, and they gave him it. How many key fights did they even have with Golden Boy? I mean, his first fight was in 2015. That was a significant Stavern fight. And then when he went on Fox and NBC, that was all Heyman. So when he says he built up Wilder to what he is now, that's just bullshit. You can't even mention Gervonta Davis' name, obviously, because he was never signed to Golden Boy. So that would be ridiculous. Danny Garcia, yeah, he promoted him, but look how he promoted him. He put him in there as an opponent, a replacement opponent against Amir Khan as the underdog. Matisse as the underdog. He promoted him as the opponent, and Danny Garcia went from there. So let's be honest about how that works. You know what I mean? And if you're talking about losing money, you take Canelo out of the scene. We saw what happened. You're talking about losing money. They were losing money majorly beyond Canelo. So that's just Oscar for you. That's just Oscar for you. But yeah, he's up there. Thurman. Okay, Thurman fought under Golden Boy, and he fought on HBO and Showtime. So you built him up. But what made him bigger? Was it fighting on Showtime or HBO, or fighting in front of 3, 4, 5 million people? What helped more to his career? Both of them helped, but so it's just like he's trying to take credit when he barely even promoted. Now that's his, that was his stable and all that. And by the way, he was going to get paid $100 million to do what he wanted to do originally, Oscar, and sell his company. Then he decided not to, and he ended up getting a payout from those fighters. Those fighters had a choice to stay. Al was their advisor/manager. He wasn't their promoter. So they had a chance to stay. They ended up going. And so to sit there and say you can't build, so they built Spence up at Golden Boy? He got all this exposure with Golden Boy? Even the Charlo twins, fights did they have on HBO when you were at HBO? None, because they weren't they weren't at that level yet. Showtime, they had a bunch of fights on Showtime, but they didn't start getting bigger until it was later in their career. I mean, they didn't even sign the Charlo twins. They signed Jermell, not Jamal. Did they ever even sign Jamal? I don't think they did. But I know he's fighting on the cards. But anyway, that's just Oscar coming out. He wants to help boxing so much, but he can't help but to rip. And by the way, there was some fights recently that had Top Rank and I'm not just talking Wilder and Fury, but Top Rank and PBC. But nobody talks about it. They only talk about when Eddie Hearn or when Oscar does it, Because, if we're being honest, Ramirez and Postol is a PBC fighter. Mandatories are mandatories. Stuff happens. But anyway, I'm done with that subject. I'm going to go out to Portland in 5:03. He wants to jump in real quick here. There is 17 minutes left of the live stream. 646-381-4990 is the number to call. I'm going to go out to 5:03 now, Portland. Hey, what's going on, man? How the hell are you?
Yo, what up, Chris?
What's going down?
Hey, yo, what up? Hey, yo, my bad. Nah, just chilling, man. How you doing, brother? I'm over there. Well, I'm doing good. I'm over here, beautiful Oregon, doing my thing. Just sorry. I'm sorry I'm a little winded. I'm just working out, but let me comment through the weekend. Fortuna looked good. I thought, he was going for the KO, and he got it. He got a pretty, decent stoppage. I thought he kind of could continue, but whatever. I mean, I don't know. He looked good, though. So I'm hoping he could get a fight with Devin Haney next, that would be a sick fight for Fortuna. That's what I would want for next. Because like obviously, there's so many things that are gonna be in front of Haney versus Lopez. Like I don't see that happening like next year at all. But yeah, that's what I would want for Haney next. Fortuna. I say they make it or remake. What's the original one? What's his name? Venezuelan guy. I forget his name.
Linares.
Whatever. Linares for Haney. Yeah. And that's what I would want next for him. But as far as that, that's what it is. But Fortuna did look good and everything. Let me comment. It's nice that Canelo got a pretty good fight for December. I think it's decent. I think I like it. It's a new name. The guy is pretty big, man, compared to Canelo. So this is kind of, I don't know, to me, it's a dangerous fight. You know what I mean? So, but man, it's gonna be dope. It's at the Aladome, right? That's where it's gonna be. It's gonna be fans. It's gonna be live, man. Mexico is gonna be there, man. That's freaking pretty much Mexico. I mean, they're in Texas, so that's gonna be lit, man. For anybody that's gonna be lucky enough to see that fight, man, whatever happens, it's gonna be a dope fight, man. So, but obviously, casual fans don't like it. They wanted something else. But obviously that's not happening. But this is still a great fight, man. To me, it's like, holy shit, man. This is
good fight.
This is good. This is a great fight, man. Really good fight, man.
It's coming. It's like a month away. You know what I mean? So it's like
close.
Considering the time frame, it's a very good fight, I think.
Oh yeah, man. And it's kind of weird back in the zone. I thought it was going to be on another network, but it's all good. I just gotta re-up my subscription when that happens. But because I don't have that shit right now. You know what I mean? There's nothing for me to enticing for me to get it right now. But yeah, as far as that, what Jacobs is this weekend on with Rosario, right? And Rosado.
Yep.
And me, man, I'm pulling for Rosado. I want the upset. But hopefully, it's gonna be. I don't know. I think that's a pretty decent fight. It's pretty good. It's a stay busy fight. Obviously, Rosado's gonna bring it. He's a great fighter. He's a dude. If you've seen his fights, man, he brings it, man. So he's like, you're gonna enjoy this fight. For any casual fans out there listening, I think this is a definitely must watch for them. And also too, what do we got? Tyson Roy Jones Jr., man, and that falls on the Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving night, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's Saturday night.
Saturday. Okay. Then I missed. I heard wrong. All right, then. But that, to me, man, like I say it's okay. I liked it before. Like I was hoping it was out of the States, Mexico or Saudi Arabia, just for reasons of what's happening now. I believe just. With all these rules, right? It just turns me off as a fan. Why am I going to watch? They might as well be doing a pro wrestling match. You know what I mean? Like bringing fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin in there or something.
From the start, though, they call it an exhibition. Yeah. The only way it could get made is if it was an exhibition. So
an exhibition, yeah, man. It's just, I don't know. I mean, to me, man, I just want to say that it's like they're grown ass men. They have fought, and I think they deserve to. Let them hands go if they want to. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I feel like, I don't know, today's society, everybody wants to baby them.
You know what I mean? Like the state could get sued too, maybe, if someone got really hurt, though. So I could see both sides of it. Well, like I can see both sides. If they went someplace else,
that's where I wanted.
Right. That'd be different.
Yeah. That's what I wanted from the original, because I know, from the beginning, because I knew that, something like this was going to happen, because all of a sudden people are worried about them, how can we let this happen? There's shame on whoever's going to, sanction it. And then so I was seeing the pattern to this, and I was like, man, it's going to be ridiculous. But now it's like a circus. Like, why am I watching if there's no winner? They're not allowed to go for KOs. There's no real judges. Now I'm hearing celebrity judges. That's insane. To me, that's just that turns me off even as a boxing, like a hardcore boxing fan. I was gonna stay tuned to it. Now I don't even think I'm gonna buy it because these rules. You know what I mean? So, but I don't know, man. To me, whatever. Hopefully they're successful with the pay-per-view. I don't want to dog it too much because I'm sure. This is not the decision of the fighters. I'm sure this is the decision of certain other people, promoters. Obviously the state people. People that are going to be responsible. But to me, it would have been just better if just let it happen, man. Just stop babying these guys. These guys have gone through through the, they're kind of at the same age where there's, can they knock each other out? What's going to happen? I mean, that's what I wanted to see, a real fight between these two. And like now it's a circus, so I don't know. But
I mean,
man, I just want to
start though. To be fair though, it would have been a circus either way. I mean,
I liked it though, man. I liked it.
I know, but when you call it a circus, it was going to be a circus regardless. You know what I mean? Regardless if it was in Mexico, it's still a circus. My thing is, how many more times do you need to see Roy Jones get knocked out? That's my thing.
Well, I mean, that's not for me to. That's not a decision for me to make. That's for Roy Jones and his team to make. I mean, he's the one that signed on. I mean, he didn't have to take his fight. It could have been some other guy. It could have been, James Toney in there. And I'm sure James Toney would have signed up to make that fight, man. And to me, that's not my decision to make. I mean, I don't want to baby these guys. I mean, that's not for me to do. That's not my decision. They're the ones that signed the dotted line. They're the ones that want to put this entertainment for me for as a boxing fan. If that's their decision, if they want to come in and go full throttle in a fight, that's not my decision. That's their decision.
But I'm not saying the decision. I'm asking you personally. How many more times do you need to see Roy get knocked out? I totally agree with what you just said. And that's not up for us to decide. But the fight's happening now, so the decision's already made. How many more times do you need to see Roy Jones get knocked out? That's the only thing that I'm looking at like, I don't know. 50-year-olds fighting is not the safest thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, they're not the same, but to me personally, I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't give you how many times a certain number. You know what I mean? I'm not. Who knows if Tyson could knock him out at this age? Who knows? You know what I mean? We don't know. You know what I mean? The fight hasn't happened. You know what I mean? It's all scenario. You know what I mean? We don't know if Tyson can knock out this Roy Jones. People, you can have an opinion, but who knows if Roy Jones just wants to box him up and he'll just box him up beautifully for 10 rounds or 8 rounds, whatever they want to go. Who knows? But I can't give you that number, Chris. I'm sorry, but I just can't. I don't know. You know what I mean? I just don't know. But but to me, I don't know. It's just I would, for me as a fan, I would have liked to see it go full throttle. Let these guys don't have just have the simple maybe 6 rounds, right? 6 rounds, 3 6-minute rounds or 3 minutes 6 rounds. And then just go by then, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That would have been simpler, you know what I mean? But with these rules, man, it just turns me off.
I do like the shorter fight because neither of these guys are in shape to go 12 rounds. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's no belt. Yeah, there's no belt on the line. I mean, 6 rounds or even 4 rounds would have been pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But yeah, I'm sorry for for being so passionate. But just to me, that's the way I felt about this. I was excited from the beginning of this, from the beginning of this these rumors of Tyson where he was getting in shape, and we're like, holy crap, this guy's gonna really fight. Holy crap! And I was excited because I've never got to see. To me, like I never got to see Tyson like actually buy a pay-per-view of his, or I was excited about that. I was like, holy crap, this is gonna happen for real. And then with these certain rules, I'm just like, man, I don't know. It just turns me off, man. I'm just, I don't know, because I was excited for this fight. You know me, Chris. I'm always buying fights. I'm always buying everything, and I buy. Sometimes I have to buy bare knuckle and shit. So that's me, man, and that's my entertainment because I'm a boxing fan and then a combat fan, and then like I just like this shit, man. Because I don't watch any other sport, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. To me, I was excited about this shit. So, but man, yeah, man. I'm sorry, Chris, for going off. I just want to, thank you for having me on, brother.
Never apologize for passion. Never apologize for passion. I love it, dude.
Yeah, but thanks, brother. And thanks for having me on, brother. Canelo still rules boxing. Viva Ropedope Radio and Viva Mexico.
Hell yeah. Watch out for the Dubois Joyce fight too. That might be good. That's on ESPN Plus, just so you know. All righty, he may. I respect what he said. I love the passion, and I think the key is, and I actually talked to this about to one of my nephews, who's not like a little kid. You know what I mean? And he made the point too, and I've heard other people in their 20s and 30s make this point, and so that's why I'm glad he brought that up. That they never got to see these guys live. like live. Tyson never, because he hasn't fought, so long. And even Roy Jones, a lot of those fights. I mean, didn't he fought Bobby? Did he fight Bobby Gunn? That was on pay-per-view. I didn't buy that either. That was Bobby Gunn, right? He'd go to Russia. He's like got citizenship in Russia, to go fight people and stuff like that. I guess my thing, so I understand not ever seeing him live, that feeling. And in this matchup, in 2000, I'd have been a lot more interested in this matchup. 20 years ago, I can't sit there and lie and say I wouldn't be interested into it because Roy Jones at the time would be coming up, right? We saw him against Ruiz. So then you go, well, shit, that's a disadvantage coming up like that. And so maybe Tyson, who, I'll be honest with you, Tyson and Lennox Lewis, I knew where Tyson's head's at. I knew he was done as a fighter. So I actually didn't watch that fight live. I worked that night and went to the party after I got off work and rewatched it with a couple of people because I knew what was in store. And maybe that part of that was me being a fan of them too, where I was like, I don't want to see it per se, so I could at least see what happened a little bit to know if because I knew his heart wasn't in it anymore. So and I knew Lennox's was, So I'll be honest, I actually did not take that night off. I watched it at like 3, 2 in the morning with a couple of buddies who had rented it later. They had a party. And so I get that part. I think that's a fair, statement that you never got to see him live. Both these guys are like I said, you got Sugar Ray Leonard, Tyson, and Roy Jones. I mean, Pernell Whitaker, I'd probably say was in there heavy, and then Roy Jones kind of took over after that for me as far as who I thought, was the best fighter or who I thought was my favorite, So I get that, and that's a legit point. And if it was in Mexico or Saudi or someplace else, they wouldn't have some of these rules. But I just look at I've seen Roy Jones get knocked out too many times now. He's been winning fights. This is in the 2000s, like in the 2010s even, where you look and you're just like, oh, dude, he's getting hit again. And like I said, he'll be doing okay in the fight, and then he gets rocked and socked, and you're like, oh, dude, he has another concussion. So I do like the way Portland said, hey, it's not up, for me to decide. These guys are grown men. And I respect that, and that is very true. Just like how I get on here and say, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you should buy for pay-per-view and what you shouldn't. That's not where I come in. You know what I mean? So I respect that a lot. And he did fight a lot of just stay busy garbage fights, in the last, say, 5 years. I mean, it's just, after that Calzaghe fight, then he fought, was it Omar here? Actually, let me check it out. I think it was Omar Shika. And then it was Jeff Lacey. I remember that. And then Danny Green, B-Hop was around there. Danny Green TKO'd him. He lost to Bernard, but that fight shouldn't even happen. That was 2010. That was 10 years ago already. Wow, that's quick. Oh, Dennis Lebedev. He got knocked out in that. And basically, those are the ones that really stand out. That Lebedev and then Enzo. Those two were like, oh shit, I don't even want to see that. Now he beat Bobby Gunn 3 years ago. Fought somebody in 2018, so he has fought, recently that way. BoxRec doesn't even have it. I just realized that. So I don't know. I look at it from a different viewpoint because I was a fan, or I still am a fan of them, and that didn't go anywhere. But when you are a super fan of somebody, you have feelings for them. Pause. And so those enter into the frame too. Like, shit, dude, I do not want. I remember watching the replay of Sugar Ray Leonard in, was it Macho? They replayed it on Tuesday Night Fights. I was over at my girlfriend's who had cable, and I kept flipping back to the fight because I made sure I hadn't found out. I'm pretty sure that was on. Maybe it was on Tuesday Night Fights straight up. No, I think just the replay. God, I can't remember. That was like 20 some odd years ago. Anyway, so I'm flipping back and forth to Tuesday Night Fights, like watching a little bit, like, no, turn it, I can't see this, because Leonard was just done. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt like watching Roy Jones of late when I have seen him. I hadn't even seen him fight since Enzo, and I just don't need the guy to get knocked out anymore. So this fight doesn't appeal to me, but it is what it is because he probably won't get knocked out in this one. But I do respect overall of you do what you know, everybody has their right to do what they want to do with their life, and that's cool. And I totally respect that. And that's fair game. And it's a free market, so people are going to buy this motherfucker. Now, don't get mad if they, you know, some of these people that are casuals that don't know the rules. And so all of a sudden they're going to be like, 2-minute, what the fuck? 8-minute, what? You know, I just hope that's that message, and that's why I did like the commission saying, hey, we're being honest with you. We're not trying to scam anybody. You know, and I hope that the promotion plays out like that down the stretch too. Because you can say you don't want to see the fight, you do want to see the fight, that's fine, but people putting their hard-earned money down, I don't want to see them get fucked on that shit either. Now, that's up to them to find out, too, about it, if you're going to slap $50 on two 50-year-olds, you know, but it is what it is. And then on the Tyson side, dude, he the last couple of fights, he was done. Like, done, D-O-N-E. And then we found out about a breathing issue that he had. And that's why he wasn't good late in fights. So you think that breathing issue is going to go away? So I do like another thing Portland said about the shorter fight. Now, 2-minute rounds, whatever. I mean, maybe that will make it that much more entertaining. 2 minutes, 8 rounds. They know that they don't have that extra minute. You know, maybe it'll be fun to watch. But if I'm paying for a fight and someone hits somebody with a good shot and the ref goes, no, hold on now. Don't follow up. To me, it's like, what's the point? Like I said, I don't know what Roy's doing with his money. I don't know. Mike says he's doing it for charity. I don't know if he's going to start a charity and build it off. It does seem like he's trying to get this older league thing going. And in boxing with the older league thing, I'm not in favor of boxing when you're 50 and 60 years old. I'm just not. You know, that's just me personally. I don't need to see 50 and 60-year-olds hitting each other in the head. That used to be one-time elite fighters. It's not like the senior golf, senior PGA tour. Senior boxing, beyond this exhibition stuff, but I don't think you should have to pay pay-per-view for an exhibition. That's my thing. Personally, I just don't. I don't. I think you're not screwing people over because you are telling them that. But then again, you know, they're trying to sell the fight. So both of them have been talking about how it's on and this, that, and the other. You know, so I don't know, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, I think if I didn't see the ends of their career live and in the moment and seeing how utterly, and I love that Mike is a more positive person now. I love it. I just hope on some real charity stuff and not some of the ego stuff. He's trying to get something back because he's in shape now. It's great that he's in shape, though. I'm glad that he's making money on something else so he doesn't have to depend on this. But he's talking about how he wants to get this league going. I have to admit, I'm not in favor of a league that's going to have pay-per-view for exhibitions. I think that's a ripoff. I'm not in favor. Now, if he wants to do a league and he's got this app and it's fucking $4.99 or something to get the app or something, it is what it is. I'm not even like exhibitions. I'm not totally against exhibitions as long as they're played out like that in the ring. Because I don't need to see 56-year-olds get fucking hurt, dude, like for the rest of their life. And it's been a while since Roy got knocked out, but I mean, they always say the last thing that goes is your power. I'm guessing Tyson can one-shot you still, Maybe I'm wrong, if that makes you feel better. Anyway, we're going to break down this weekend. Then we're going to get to some current fight news. Then we're going to end on the boxing Twitter segment. Who's going to win? Well, there's no winner, so I'm not going to pick a winner. Jacobs and Rosado. Gabe Rosado from Philadelphia. They've talked a bunch, just a gang of shit, which is always fun, whether it turns out to be anything at all, whatever. One-sided fight. I think eventually that will turn into a one-sided fight. I wonder how Gabe's going to fight this one, because I remember not all that long ago, because, we know that, like, the Peter Quillen fight, it did seem like it was stopped prematurely. It did seem like he was starting to make some waves in that fight, But that was a while ago. I'm looking at it right now. That was 7 years ago. Holy shit. And then he got beat by Charlo. Got TKO'd by Lemieux. Willie Monroe beat him. Barely lost to Martin Murray. Had a split decision draw to Luis Arias. Knocked out TKO'd Glenn Tapia. Lost to Sulecki. So, was it the Martin Murray? Was it I can't remember. Maybe it was Sulecki, but there was a fight where he's like, well, now I can't even box. If I try to box a different style, they won't even give me the win. It was like, well, you didn't win the fight, dude. Maybe that was the Charlo fight. I don't know. But I've always liked Gabe. Back when there was more interview. What was I going to say? Interview driven. That's where the D comes in there. Back when the show, that format was more interview driven. We had Gabe on several times and his former trainer. But, clearly he's past his prime and has been for quite some time. He did fight okay, though, against Martin Murray. That's already 3.5 years ago. I just don't think smart boxing is the best thing for him to do. And I don't think it's going to work against – I think that kind of plays in the hands of Jacobs, because he wants to come at you, but behind a jab and not, like, completely ruthless. But then he'll get ruthless with his wide shots. It seems like he's gotten better at that over the last couple of years, though, Jacobs. So, like I said, though, the levels. Jacobs doesn't always separate himself when you think he should. And I could see him getting hit with shots. I could see him kind of getting stood up and buzzed potentially. But I just think Jacobs is better. He's got a better, like a clearer path to win based off some things that he'll stick to or get back to in the fight. He is susceptible defensively, though, always has been. So I think that'll play into it. And then, like I said, the levels. I just think he's a higher level and well-faded. Now, he looks like he's in good shape now, though. Not that he was in ever bad shape or anything like that. He beat Chavez Jr. too. So he's actually been relatively active. He fought less than a year ago. Or no, wait, what am I saying? Chavez. That was Garcia. Garcia. That was, man, you can tell I'm fucking tired. That was Daniel Jacobs. I was looking at the wrong thing. So yeah, I think, could Jacobs stop him? Maybe. If he stops him, it'll be TKO. That's what I'm going with. If he stops him, it'll be on cuts, on like swelled up cuts. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like to me. So I have him by a clean decision. Is this a 10 or a 12 round? I seriously don't know. So I have Jacobs winning by decision or a TKO on your eyes are closing type thing. But I think, like I said, it's a stay busy fight. I really wish they had Andre against Jacobs on this fight. It didn't happen, obviously. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon per se. You know, Chavez, Rosado. Well, then hopefully Danny gets a big fight after that with somebody. Of course, he has to win. But yeah, I have him winning the fight. So that's on DAZN. On Friday, by the way, Friday night. And then on ESPN Plus in the States and BT Sport in the UK, shouts out to the UK, Daniel Dubois against Joe Joyce. I like this fight, man. Joe is they're both like prospect edging on that contender level. Obviously, like a 34 or 35 or something like that. Dubois, or not Dubois, but Joyce. So that's a weird prospect, obviously. But I think it's a good fight. If you look at Dubois of late, 15-0. With did he have one that went the distance? I think so, but it's been a long time. Or did he? I can't remember. I know he's 15-0. Is it 15 knockouts or 14? I can't remember. I'm looking at it right now. Kevin Johnson. That must have won the. So like Richard Lardy, I know him. I know that Razvan, he got knocked out. Of course, Kevin Johnson. The Nathan Gorman, he made quick work of him, relatively speaking, of course. So this is a step up for both guys, clearly. It's 11-0 with 10 KOs on the Joe Joyce. Brian Jennings, who was pretty faded. Ustanov, Stavern, Hanks. He actually has veteran, get me some rounds type stuff. Joe has better fights that way, but in the end, I think this is going to be fun to watch. I think this is going to be explosive. I hope that it gets decided within about 6 to 8 rounds, because I could see this turning into kind of a I'm freaking tired fest later in the fight. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It just Dubois is just like a cleaner, more accurate, more fluid puncher. He gets wide with his shots. He doesn't have great defense either. But Joe Joyce, he's too slow. I mean, that's what I think this fight comes down to. Can he hit hard? It seems like it. Can he take a good shot? We'll see how great of a I think he can take a good shot. Will it be great? Can he take a great shot? I don't know. But I do think that this is going to be fun. And I think, it's like one more step in somebody's career. And most people favor Daniel Dubois in this one, as do I. I think he will win by knockout. I wouldn't be surprised nor shocked if it did go the distance, though. Not a lot of people are saying that, per se, that I've seen. What are the odds on that? So I'm seeing the lowest I see is plus 273 at bookmaker. Otherwise, it's mostly plus for Joe Joyce as an underdog, plus 370, plus 300. So it's like 3 to 3.5, say, underdog. So, and that's, there's not many. That's kind of like one of the closer fights of the weekend. Now that I'm looking at it. Well, the Tyson. What? Well, hold on. Mike Tyson's a minus 170. Nate Robinson, Jake Paul. Jake Paul's minus 220, plus 180. I'm going with Jake Paul on that one. But yeah, otherwise, man, it is like, if I'm looking at these odds, and it's pretty far odds, man. Not many good fights when it comes to that. And that Andre fight is off now, too, isn't it? Tony Yoka takes on Christian Hammer. It's another fight that could be somewhat interesting from a, heavyweight prospect thing. But I'm going Daniel Dubois. To me, he just seems like he's, I don't know, a little more put together, a little bit more fluid in his punches, less slow. I know that sounds pretty basic, but I think it's kind of true. Is Joyce worth putting something down on a plus 350 or something? Yeah, probably, because we are in a stage where, like I said, Joyce has better track record against faded vets or vets that never really were anything per se, but they give them rounds and becoming an experienced professional. Sure, but he never got that bigger fight where you're like, oh, okay, he beat him and he's quality right now, whereas that obviously would be what would happen here. So, I don't know. That's what I like the fight of. It's not a 50-50 fight, but it has that there's some what ifs and maybe not type thing. You know what I mean? So, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, so we are going to get into some more fight news, and then we'll get a little boxing Twitter in, the segment, of course, and then we'll shut this thing down. This is from the Cop Man. The rescheduled bout between Sergey Kovalev and Sullivan Barrera is being targeted for January 30th on DAZN. DAZN owns Kovalev 2 comeback fights at $2.5 million apiece, and that's part of the agreement to fight Canelo. As Portland mentioned earlier, the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, will host Canelo Alvarez and Callum Smith to the limited live crowd, much like Gervonta and Leo Santa Cruz. Let's see here. Is there any? Okay. Oh, there's some interesting news here. Herring and Frampton title fight targeted for mid-January in the UK. This is from Jake Donovan, BoxingScene.com. Jamel Herring appears to be set for the most significant fight of his pro career. Sounds like it's going to be targeted to take place on the weekend preceding Martin Luther King Day, with the bout to air live on the ESPN platform from a location to be determined in the UK. Stateside, the working date is January 16th. However, Boxing Scene has learned of potential plans to stage the event to where it airs live in prime time for the U.S. viewers, which would place the fight Sunday, January 17th, locally in the UK. How's that work, though? If they want to do primetime U.S., Sunday in the UK, like, what time that'd be super early in the morning. But if there's no crowds, I don't know. I don't know. Either way, it's a good fight. That's kind of my main point there. Speaking of an interesting and good fight here, Casimiro and Rigondeaux are reportedly in negotiations for a March or April 2021 fight, which would be dope. This is El Nuevo Herald. That's where that comes from. Casimiro against Rigo. Sign me up for that. I'm all for that. Bob Arum has revealed that there are, this is from Steve Kim, that they're in discussions to potentially, stage Teofimo Lopez against George Kambosos and Joshua Franco and Andrew Maloney, the third fight, in Australia in early 2021. That'll work. That's not bad at all. I like that. A lot of people may get mad at that because they want to see Teofimo against Ryan Garcia or Haney or whatever, but I did hear Teofimo say that, hey, I can fight him, Haney, for this amount of money, or I can fight this guy, or I can go to Australia and make a bunch of money. That's what he was saying. I don't know if they got the money figured out just yet, but Teofimo Lopez might be headed to Australia. Plus, that'd be cool to get that fight right away. The rematch done too. I think that's kind of nice too. You know what I mean? So that'd be kind of dope. All right, let's see if we have some more news. I think that's it for news. Yeah, I think that's it for news. Oh, this one comes from Deuce. Sources. Julian J. Rock Williams will make his long-awaited return to the ring on December 26th on the PBC on Fox against Dennis Hogan. Now, is this at 154? Because I like Dennis Hogan at 54 a lot better than I like him at 60. But Hogan and Williams actually as a comeback fight, I don't have a problem with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I would take that. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's see. I know Teofimo, speaking of Teofimo, he was saying that now that he has all the belts, that he's the A side against Gervonta. Now, I'm not saying that Gervonta and Floyd and company, Al, would necessarily want to put him in next with Teofimo, right? But it's pretty obvious that he's not the A side. And it's funny because I understand why people do this is negotiating, and maybe some are going to be stubborn enough to keep him, to keep that in place and be stubborn. Some not. He does say, hey, I was the clear B side against Loma. Now I'm the A side to everyone. But that's just not true with Gervonta. It's just not. Until you start putting butts in the seats, and I think Lopez is going to be for sure now, especially in New York. But for him to say he's the A side of Gervonta and Floyd's got to make the fight on the A side, I do agree with him. I don't agree with that because that's not true. But he did say, that they would outprice themselves, which that's very possible. But outprice in A side, which one is it? Because clearly you're not the A side. I mean, you're just not. But I want to see the fight. I just don't think it's going to happen regardless. I like that fight though. This is Eddie Hearn. I lost a lot of money on Lomachenko versus Campbell. It was our worst performing pay-per-view, he told The Athletic this. I learned the hard way in a fight that just because there's this guy who idolized by many hardcore fight community, it doesn't mean it's going to deliver the numbers. Okay, now we're going to get into more of the boxing Twitter stuff. Let me double check to see hasn't had any news out there. Gennady Golovkin's next fight is set for December 18th. Doesn't look like there's new stuff. Oh, the California State Athletic Commission releases the $80,000 purse to Flores following the review of his KO loss to Luis Ortiz. That was on Boxing Scene. So they had their little hearing and decided that his eye was messed up, or was it, did he get hit in the gut, or, I mean, what happened there? What exactly happened? Okay, Boxing Twitter segment, and then we are gone. Let me get some water. All right. Bob Arum promotes the 4 richest boxers of all time. 2 are black. Here are the 4 richest boxers in the history: Floyd Mayweather, George Foreman, Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao. All were promoted by Bob Arum. 2 of these are, yeah, you already said that. So the next time someone asks if Arum knows how to promote a black fighter, point to this list. Well, first of all, George Foreman got super rich off of the grill, so you can't give Bob Arum that. He didn't make all that money. Well, hold on. Oh, let me back up. Because in his retirement, he did do a huge pay-per-view with Holyfield and whatnot. But as far as the earnings within boxing, Sugar Ray Leonard, had more earnings in boxing, I believe, than George Foreman. But George Foreman is super rich because of the grill as well. I mean, that added to his income later. Floyd Mayweather, as far as the richest person, he became that big when he left him. And then obviously Oscar, Manny. He does have a problem promoting black fighters, though, in the last 15 years, it seems. Danny Garcia knocks out Spence this week. I don't think Spence is himself anymore. He just doesn't seem right. Sad. Hashtag boxing. This is Rick Ramos. I don't know. When you say he doesn't look himself anymore, a lot of people are all of a sudden like thinking his squeaky voice, which he's always had, and his country-ass slang means he's slow now. Like his brain can't process. To say he doesn't seem right anymore, and he says that it's from he has camp rumors. Well, at least the camp rumors thing, okay, maybe he does have something there. But when he says it doesn't seem himself, when he's hitting the bag, he doesn't seem himself, or in the interview, or I need more evidence that he's not himself that we'll get December 5th. But prior, I can't sit there and be like, oh, obviously he was wrong on the date. Okay, here we go. Errol is not a bigger star than Crawford. Spence is delusional. He appears bigger because he fights fighters with some type of fan base. Fights should be 50-50. Side note, these guys scared of fighting each other. That's why they want to fight a 50-year-old senator. But when he says, this is what always makes me laugh, because they try to say, no, it was just Mikey Garcia, as if Mikey Garcia is known to sell millions and millions of dollars at the gate prior to that fight, which he wasn't. He had never been on pay-per-view either. Now, it doesn't mean he didn't draw in the crowd or draw there, but clearly, if you hear the announcement, more people were there to cheer on Spence than Garcia. It was in Dallas. Look, just listen to when I say the announcement, his name and shit like that. But there is plenty of, support for Garcia, no doubt. But it is funny when he says he's delusional. It only appears bigger because he fights fighters that have some type of fan base. Well, that's how you get big. That's how you get bigger, because you fight someone that's popular or more popular than what you've been fighting. You ever heard of Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather? Well, they were pretty They were not pretty popular. They were pretty decently popular because they were selling good numbers for pay-per-view at that level. But then they became stars after after they fought Oscar. This is from Alan Dawson, who's a good follow, by the way, on Twitter, Alan Dawson Sport. If Terrence Crawford does leave Top Rank, how long will it be before ESPN drops him from their number one pound-for-pound spot and elevates Inoue instead? Asking for a friend. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Porter says he wants Crawford. Well, he is the mandatory. Is he going to exercise? I don't foresee the fight between myself and Terrence Crawford anytime soon. I don't think that's the route Top Rank wants to go, but I am the mandatory for the WBO. Lesser-known names have been able to enforce their mandatory status. So will Porter, or is he all talk? Let's clear something up first. He's not his official mandatory yet. They have to call it. And trust me, you'll know when they call it if you pay attention to boxing news, because people will be freaking out, right? Like in a good way, mostly, right? They'll be like, oh, shit, this could happen. He's going to force it. Well, when you say lesser-known folks are able to, push their mandatory, remember what that means. Now, I don't remember the cut for WBO, if it's 60-40 or if it's 75-25 or 70-30. I don't know. But the mandatory, if it goes to a purse bid, it's harder to negotiate in that spot when it's a big fight. Because, if they can't come to an agreement, it goes to purse bid. Well, the champion gets way more money. So Crawford would get way more money than Porter. So by saying that doesn't automatically mean it's going to happen. And another thing is, like he says, he's actually not the official mandatory until they make it official and they call it. And they say, hey, within these 30 days you have to negotiate, or 90 days, whatever. And by that time, we're going to go to purse bid. So until they do that, then that's it. And when Crawford said, he quoted Crawford, it looks like, he doesn't seem that's the route for Top Rank. I mean, it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like that. During the last fight week, last fall for Crawford fight week, they did talk Porter up, but nothing ever came from it. They never they never offered him, and they're not really, Crawford ain't talking about Porter, that's for sure. He brings up Pacquiao, Spence, Garcia, and Thurman. He doesn't talk about that. Crawford to 154, please. I'm done waiting for all this nonsense at 147. If he moves up, he's the mandatory, which we talked about this before. He's the mandatory to Teixeira. Crawford will murder him. Charlo Crawford for undisputed after that. He's 2 fights away from legendary with that route. First of all, Teixeira has a fight. If they want to have that fight for a belt, like this gentleman here is saying, Teixeira has the belt, but he has a fight. He has a fight with Castano, and that fight's happening soon. They just closed in the deal, and they haven't announced the date, but they're shrinking now on the time frame because they won the purse bid, but now they have a certain, I think it was 10 or 18 days or some shit, to actually say this is when the fight's happening. So to say you're going to go up to 54 and fight this guy to get a belt, I think Castaño's going to beat him, but you got to remember that's in the way. Oh, here's Letitia. Is this his sister? You're the fucking promoter, not him. You make the fights, not him. You put some weak-ass fights on pay-per-view instead of on ESPN, and now you're crying about how much money you lost. Bud been asking for the big fights for how long? But nah, you want to stay busy. You was too busy worried about Loma. That's her thought process. Just a little backup. This is after this is a couple years back, after they re-signed Crawford. Hold on. Okay, sorry, need something to drink there. This is like kind of like part of their press release here. Terrence Bud Crawford is the world's best boxer, says top-ranked Chairman Bob Arum. We will continue our ongoing campaign to establish him as one of the most. We will continue on our campaign to establish him as one of the world's most recognizable athletes. Not even boxers. He says athletes, which is just silly. Terms were not announced, but Crawford's minimum purses are more than $3 million he earned in his last fight. Without a doubt, this is one of the most lucrative deals for an individual fighter in the history of boxing, says Bomac. The deal that I helped put together with Top Rank and ESPN is unprecedented in the modern boxing landscape. If you think you've seen the best of Terrence Crawford, you ain't seen nothing yet. To all the pretenders out there who want a piece of him, you'll get what is coming. With Top Rank and ESPN in our corner, we're going to make some of the biggest fights in the history of boxing. We will continue to show why he's the greatest fighter. One of the greatest fighters to ever lace him up. So, when they re-signed him, Aaron was talking about, and I know that's promoter talk and manager talk lower with Bomac, but ongoing campaign to establish him as one of the world's most recognizable athletes. Come on, dog. All right, hey, people are going to be happy. We got Glazier in this bitch. We got Glaze. This one is a doozy. I think everyone should cancel their DAZN. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think, so we know who he's lined with now. It appears to be Golden Boy. I think everyone should cancel their DAZN boxing subscription because of how Oscar De La Hoya has now been treated and done wrong by DAZN in this Canelo ordeal. With DAZN now doing Canelo Smith, I'm canceling. Please retweet if you agree. Really pro-fighter there, huh? See, that's the thing, and this guy's not even really media, but you kind of count him as a media member because other media members have him on the goddamn show, or they retweet his shit or whatever. And how he did, DAZN did Oscar wrong? You mean Oscar did Canelo wrong? People love dragging fighters in the media. Love it. Thrive on it. Get a bunch of likes and retweets on it. But then they're quiet as a little church mouse when they got to talk about Bob or something like that. That's some bullshit, though. Wow. This is from the SOG, Son of God Andre Ward. In the sport of boxing, fans and media are quick to fall in love. They also seem to fall out of love even quicker. Quick to crown, even quicker to uncrown, as if the original crowning never took place. Live in the middle, fighters. Don't get too high or too low with praise or criticism. That is well said. Definitely. Here is a fanboy, apparently, or maybe the Smith family, but at least Callium Smith. He says, I don't think Canelo has any chance whatsoever in this one. Too slick. So you're not giving Canelo not even a chance to beat Callium Smith. Not even a little bit? Not even a hair? Like, wow, dude. You got something going on there. This is from the Rogaroo, Regis Prograrius, like our boy Spence would say, Regis Progray. 2 weeks ago, Barrios said he was willing to put up his belt and fight me next. That it'll be a huge fight in Texas. From what I'm hearing now, he's having second thoughts. I hope it's not true, champ. I'm coming to get that belt. Don't be having cold feet now. I like that fight. Interesting fight. We have another one. I think that's it, folks. I think that's it. Let me just double check to make sure there's not any kind of late breaking news. It does not look like that. So, try to enjoy the fights this weekend. I think we'll get some entertainment. You can do what you want to do with. Is that a song? You can do what? Oh, that kind of sounds like the In Living Color intro, but it's not. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Enjoy the fights. Like I said, we got a big heavyweight fight between two prospects in that contender. Whoever wins this fight is a contender. Let's put it that way. I'll be back next week. Take it easy. Peace.